So thank you everyone for joining us today. We've had a lot of great programs and this is another one. So today it's generating subscription revenue with Paywalls with Pete Ericson. If you haven't noticed, we have rebranded and we love our little hashtag where the conversation happens because we do try to generate conversation and discussion because that's how we all learn from each other and share information. We have a bunch of new, there's even more than this, programs coming up. So keep an eye out on your email and social because we'd love for you to join us for those as well. If you have not renewed your membership, or if you are not a member, please join us. We are great. We have cookies. That's what it is. We have our Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. We have all our programs up on there. So if you've missed one and want to see it, go on over, take a look at all our social, see all our programs coming up, all the fun stuff we're doing. And a special thank you to all of our sponsors. Our sponsors, our members, all of you attendees are the reason that we're here and we're able to do all this. So we really appreciate your support. If you happen to know someone or you are someone from one of these companies, then thank you. We very much appreciate it. Again, just keep up to date, visit our website. Everything new is going to be right on our website as soon as possible. And this is where I start and I pass it over to Lisa. So let's dive in.
Thanks, Jess. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I want to again thank our sponsors, thank our members. We couldn't do this without you. I want to thank all of the members of the board and the programming committee for all of your support. And I am happy to announce and introduce today Pete Ericson, the founder and CEO of Zeen101, which develops the leaky paywall subscription platform. He has worked with hundreds of news and magazine publishers, helping them with their digital subscription strategies. He is all about helping publishers build their email lists, paid subscriptions, and create new content products. Pete, it's great to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us. I am going to turn this over to you. I am going to mute myself, and we can't wait to learn from you. So thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it. All right, I get to share my screen now, I think. Let's share my desktop. Hit the present button. Okay, come on, present. All right, Chrome is being finicky. Hang tight. Let's see if I can reboot this.
How come you have green trees, Pete? Where's the snow?
If I shared my other screen, there's the snow's on the other one. It's just, you know, looking forward to spring. That's all. All right, there we go. All right, is that working for you guys?
Looks good.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks again. Let's roll. So what I'd like to do today is cover three areas. One is what are the current challenges with digital subscriptions, especially for print publishers. Then I'd like to jump into a couple of stories that I went through personally with a couple of publishers and how that panned out. And then the third part of this, I want to jump in and give you a framework, really a tactical framework that you can put to work today or Monday for your publication that works like gangbusters. And the idea is building your email list and building paid subscriptions. That's what we're going to focus on. Okay. So the first challenge might seem fundamental, but it's something to always think about. And that's your articles have to be friendly to Google so that they can be found in search, and they have to be shareable in social media. And you've probably heard this before, but it's critical. And I can't tell you how many publishers I've run into that are still, and maybe you're one of them, not publishing your best premium content on the web. And of course, a paywall is the next step if you're going in that direction. if you look at these blue numbers, just want to show you how important it is. This is one of the publishers we work with, and we take a look at where are their paid subscriptions coming from. And it varies some, but Google search, organic search, 404. This is for a specific time period. Their email marketing campaigns, a big one. We're going to talk about that. Direct, that's someone who goes directly to the website. Social media, and then referrals from other websites. Now, these numbers can change. For some of our news publishers, we have Facebook as the #1 source of paid digital subscriptions. But in any case, the point is that PDFs and flipbooks, they do serve a purpose for a certain segment of reader, but they don't serve the modern reader, especially when you get on mobile. All right, the second challenge is related to this. It's really the format. And I see a lot of PDFs and flipbooks that are, and I get what the benefits are. They're easy to produce, but they're applied in a way that's not going to generate new subscribers the way you really want them to. Essentially, when you put content in a PDF or in a flipbook, it's locked content from the modern reader. Google has a hard time indexing PDFs and flipbooks. They never do well in search. So, I mean, when's the last time you found a PDF when you search for something? It doesn't happen very often. The other thing I see sometimes is where I'll go to a publisher's website and I'll click on the flipbook and it'll take me off-site to a third-party vendor, right? And that's a problem in itself because you're literally sending people away from your website. You might lose them forever. They may come back, maybe they'll subscribe to Flipbook Access, but the numbers are very low. The other thing that drives me totally bananas is when I see flipbooks that are free on a website, just free and open, and that publisher is trying to generate paid print and digital subscriptions. And it's like a big sieve. Why would I pay for a subscription when I can just take a look through the flipbook if I really, really wanted to. And then the last thing is what I mentioned before is mobile. The numbers are a little different, but 70% is a pretty typical number of your traffic that is going to your website, looking at your content. So you really have to look at the articles that you produce. Are they friendly? Do they look good on a phone? A PDF and a flipbook, it just doesn't work. No matter what you do, no matter how you try, there's too much work trying to pinch and zoom and flip and figure out how to manage the flipbooks. Okay.
Hey, Pete,
Yeah.
real quick, do you want to launch that poll?
Sure.
Yeah?
Why
Forgot
not?
about it earlier.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how, do I do that or do you do that?
I'll do it. I'll hit the button, but we
Okay.
are going to launch a poll, so everyone should get something popping up on their screen, and we would appreciate you taking part.
Cool.
There we go.
Okay. Back here. Okay, let's talk about Modern Drummer Magazine. So about 5 years ago, we worked with them to create a digital subscription plan for them. That was the original intent and purpose. And the situation that they were in was pretty typical of a lot of publishers at the time, and still some publishers today, where their website traffic was driven by their news blog. So they were publishing sort of in between articles and news. They had a strong podcast going. They had a lot of educational, how-to articles, in terms of how-to drumming, but very little actual magazine content. So the articles that people really wanted to read were just not available on the site. And that, they had a pretty good amount of website traffic at the time, but they really were missing a giant opportunity. So what they were currently trying to sell is print subscriptions, mostly, PDF subscriptions, which were very few, just a handful a week. It really didn't work very well. They had an e-store for back issues and such, which makes sense. They were selling education and they were promoting lots of events, but the digital subscription funnel was almost non-existent. So in 2017, we helped them launch their new website. And the purpose was to do two things. One is to drive more website traffic through Google search and social sharing to the site, and to get all their magazine articles on the site in a web format. So basically, you know, like you go to any news site, you click on an article, if you're just reading an article, it's good on mobile. And so what they did at the time is they actually copied and pasted the text and images from their PDFs onto their website, and they went back a year and did that. And they used actually one of our free plugins called Issue M, which lets publishers publish web-based issues that are Google and social friendly, and it's free on the WordPress repository. You can grab it. And then what they also did is, as they were publishing, releasing issues going forward, is they would go back every single month, and then what they would do is they would copy and paste articles into back issues as well. So every new issue they released in a web format, they actually released an archive issue in a web format. And the reason that you do that is because every article that you publish in a proper web format is a magnet for a specific Google search, and gets shared in social media. Okay. And then, of course, we helped them install a metered paywall. It was our leaky paywall product at the time. And what is a metered paywall? Well, a metered paywall is essentially a paywall that's a little leaky, that lets you choose to, let's say, give away 1, 2, 3 free articles per month before that visitor sees the prompt to subscribe. And the metered paywall lets Google continue to what we call indexing. It lets Google crawl all your articles, and it lets all your articles rank in Google search. And it also continues to let all your articles get shared on Facebook and LinkedIn, and on social media, and be shared by thousands. And they can read the full article when they click the link, but it's only when the individual browser starts to browse where the meter kicks in and counts how many free articles they're going to get before they're prompted to subscribe. So that's what happened there. Okay, so now that they have their website in a Google-friendly, you know, their articles essentially in a Google-friendly social sharing format, and the metered paywall up, what happened? The first 14 days, they had 900 new subscribers come on board. They were pretty happy with that. It didn't take them that long to get into a situation where every day they were in the double digits of subscriptions. And that was a mix of both digital and print subscriptions. If you look at this little chart over here, this is from archive.org, which is also known as the Wayback Machine. If you ever heard of the Wayback Machine, you need to go there and put in your web address and take a look as far back as you can to the first version of the website that you ever published and have a really good laugh. Because archive.org basically preserves the history of the internet. It's an amazing place. But if you look at, and this is public traffic data, and if you look at the data, you'll see that, you know, since they started putting their articles in a web-based format and really piling those archives in a web-based Google-friendly format, their traffic grew through search and social media. And it was a pretty dramatic story. So their print subscriptions grew too. Now, so why did that happen? So when you set up your website as what I would call like a proper digital engine, so you're pulling in all this traffic from Google search and social sharing, and you have a metered paywall in place that is capturing, let's say, free registrations, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, and paid subscriptions. You create this relationship engine where you're presenting your paid message over and over again. And when you're presenting your paid message, you're obviously giving the reader a choice. Do you want a digital only subscription? Do you want a print and digital subscription? And what they did, which worked for years, which was really interesting, is how they priced print versus digital. Their print and digital subscription was at the time $29 per year. Their digital only subscription was $60 or $59 per year. So they priced their digital subscription higher than their print subscription. And now for them, ad revenue in print was really the goal. They wanted to motivate print, and it worked. But what was really interesting is that 20% of people that subscribed chose the digital only product, which kind of blew all our minds. But there are people out there that just don't want paper, but they're willing to pay for digital. Now, they're no longer doing that. I'm not sure I would do that today, because today there's a real focus on simplicity and not confusing the buyer. And I'll show you later. You probably want to keep pricing the same for those choices. We'll get into that in a minute. Okay. All right, so here's another story, kind of a similar story. We work with Track and Field News, veteran news magazine publisher, 50 plus years of archives. They wanted to generate digital subscriptions. That was their primary push. And what was shocking was, in the middle of the project that we were in, they announced to us, and we were helping at the time. We were helping them put together their new website and Paywall, and it was a good sized project. They announced that they were going to quit printing, and that was a little bit of a shocker. It lasted for 9 months, and then went back to printing again. And so what we all found out was that 50% of their readership had absolutely no interest in logging into anything. They wanted the print product. They're willing to pay for it, and that was that. And they were really good. They were very, real emotional tugs in their postcard and print campaigns to get people to log into their new state-of-the-art publication, and half their readership said no, not interested. So what they did when they went back to print is they went from the $30 a year product for print to, if you look at their website now, they're charging over $150 per year. So they just crank their prices up. They have a few different products that they're selling. Their highest level product includes access to all their archives. So they have a lot of archives, and they installed a time wall. And so what's a time wall? Well, time wall can be good for publishers that have a lot of old evergreen content that has value, and you can charge. It's a lot of work to preserve all this content. You can charge for that. So their highest paid product includes full archive access. And so Track and Field News, they're publishing a database of sort of the recorded history of track and field events. And their fans, their readership, they want to get back to all the old record, all the times and all the charts. They have tons of charts on there from decades ago. So that works really well for them. And I take a look at their subscriptions once in a while, and what's been happening is, and this has been several years now, is digital, print, and these archive time wall subscriptions. They're just rolling in. It's working really, really well for them. Now, one thing that I want to mention, and this is a workflow thing that they're doing, which I think is brilliant and works really well for them, is, and I know one of the challenges for issue-based publishers is, you're producing a print issue, it's the print model first, and then it goes on the website. And in the digital world, that's actually problematic. You have to get your articles on the web right away. If something's ready to go, you're losing out in Google search, in a fresh article, whether it's news or a magazine, a long form article. You're losing out in social sharing, stuff that you can get right away, that your audience is willing to pay for. If they can get something earlier, that wins. So, but you still have this sort of workflow challenge, because it's issue-based, it's a print and issue-based product. So what Track and Field does, if you look, this is actually their homepage. And what they do is they when something's ready to go, they publish it on their homepage, and they actually make a copy of it, and they put it into a draft web issue until that issue is ready to go, and then they launch the issue. And it's some people say, hey, that's duplicate content. No, it's not. Google doesn't care about duplicate content. Google only ranks the first article that's published. That's a myth that's been around for decades. So what they're doing is they're serving their print audience that really does like to read things in a issue-based format, but they're also serving the audience that just wants they want the articles now. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay, so this is the third part of this. So what I'm going to show you here is a framework that works really well for building your email list and converting paid subscribers. So let's take a look at this framework, and it falls in line with what I've been talking about. Your website, when you turn on subscriptions, you will generally capture your hardcore fans. They'll pay you right up front pretty quickly early on. But they're a very, very small percentage of the actual traffic that comes to your website. The 99% of your traffic are casual visitors, people that find you from searching in Google or get a share in social. They might really not be interested in your publication, and they might be fairly interested in your publication, but they're casuals, they're not ready to pay. But they're your biggest opportunity. Biggest body, biggest opportunity. So how do you convert a casual visitor that's coming in from a Google search into a paid subscriber? Up here, number 3. And the secret that I alluded to is you're capturing their email address and sending them your newsletter. So the advantage of setting up a paywall in a way to force essentially and it's sort of carrot and stick. You're giving them some limited access in return for an email address, and that gets them on your newsletter, which then becomes number 2. Oops, yeah, and becomes your direct marketing tool. So building your email list up front, this is the most important thing you can do. If you walk away from this session with just one thing on your agenda, this is it. Make sure you set up a free registration. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. And you'll start there, because when somebody registers on your website through your paywall as a free registered user with limited access, you're essentially starting the relationship with that person. And the data is clear. The longer somebody gets your newsletter lands in their inbox, they click the article link, they go back to the website, and they want to read the article, maybe they get a couple a month, and then they get the prompt to pay because they've used up their free allotment. That the longer they stay on your newsletter, the higher chance they have of subscribing. Okay, so this is the framework. And new products, once you get this framework flowing and it works really well, then it's time to start thinking about how do you tweak it, how do you add new products. There are lots of things you can do to accelerate that. And if we have a little time, we can kind of jump into that. Okay, so here is Small Boats Magazine. If you go to smallboatsmonthly.com, check this publication out. Before I forget, just start reading some articles, register for their free level, get on their newsletter, and pay close attention to how they promote paid subscriptions, because it is just, it's awesome. It works so well. And the way they have it set up is their meter. Now they've been doing this for a while, so they're pretty restrictive about their content. Typically, when publishers launch paywalls, they tend to be generous about their content. You might give away, 2, 3, 4 articles, or register and you'll get 5 a month or 3 a month or something like that. What Small Boats does now is the meter is set to 1 free article, and that's all you need for Google to be able to index your entire site. 1 free article, and then once you read that free article, you have to register, and then you'll get another free article, and that's it. So here we are. This is the home page. Let's pretend I've used up my free article. I'm going to click this Swamp Creek article here, and it takes me to the subscription message. So here I am, I'm in the article up here, and I get this message right in content. And me as a reader, like I want to read this article. Like I'm getting this message at just the time I want to read the article, because I clicked on it. And that's another benefit of the meter, is you're not choosing which articles to restrict. That's a lot of work, and you're going to get it wrong every time. The meter lets the incoming visitor choose what article they want to read. And that's how you get their attention, and that's how you start that relationship. So, so this is the subscription message, and the pitch is very, very simple. Read this article for free. This works every time. Well, not every time, but it works a lot of times. And so, okay, so I sign up here, no credit card required to finish reading the article. Pretty simple proposition. And even though Small Boats is only giving away this one article, I mean, they have beautiful long form content. It works. I look at the subscriptions coming in, and the mix of free and paid subscriptions is strong. So now I click this hey, read my free article, and I get a simple registration form. And you can sort of use the sort of standard approach where the idea, of course, is to grab the email address. You can also set it up so it's just an email, and it sort of auto generates their account on the fly. But the idea is they fill this out, this works, and then they get taken back to the article they were reading. And the article is unlocked for them. They can read it. The email is captured. It's sent off to your MailChimp or your whatever email service provider you're using, which means that now you have someone who is subscribed to your newsletter in a sort of more of a relationship way. And that works. Like I said, it works great. And so the results, they started so Small Boats started this registration last summer, and they saw about 20% uptick in their email list growth and their paid subscription growth, just from setting up the free registration framework. Okay. Let's dig into the newsletter a little bit. It's really important. Your newsletter is your #1 direct marketing tool. It's landing in people's inboxes. It's sending people back to articles that they want to read. And so this is my Gmail account. This is one of their newsletters that comes in as a magazine publisher. Their articles are longer. They don't have that much volume for content. They actually will, they do a really good job of pulling archive articles, like they might send, because they email out about twice a week. And one of those is usually an archive article newsletter. So they'll send a couple of related, like 2 articles that are related. Maybe it's the same boat style, or I can't remember exactly what it is, but it works. And with beautiful pictures, very compelling. And nobody reads all your content in your magazine or on your website. So people read it, they click back to it. So this newsletter now is, you have the email address, right? You're growing your list. You're sending people back to your website. They're clicking the title. They're clicking back to your site, and they're using up their free registration benefit. Whatever you decide that free registration gives that person access to, they're using it up. And what they're seeing after they use it up is the upgrade message, or the paid subscription message. So if I click this, and let's say I've used up, I inserted a slide at the last moment. Let me back up a second. Same newsletter. I just scroll down a bit. This is something that I think is very elegant, and we know it works. Is always have your paid subscriptions being promoted. So with the free registration, you'll probably organize that email, that free registered user by tag. Like MailChimp does it through tagging. So somebody registers on your website for free, they get added to your MailChimp list, and then the tag free goes to MailChimp, and now you know who's free. Well, you can target those free registered subscribers with the newsletter that promotes your paid subscription. So if you look here, the articles are up at the top, And then here you have the join the small boats community, and you'll get all these benefits, right? And then also, really important, use a big button, just like they do, to join. You know, links are fine, but buttons boost clicks big time. So create a nice big button to join or to subscribe or whatever the benefit message is to pay. Their sponsors are down below, which is a nice, elegant way to handle that. I just thought it's so good. I just thought I had to share that. Okay. What's next? Okay, so now I've used up my free articles, and I go to the next article, and again, I'm stopped in the next article that I want to read, that I'm choosing, and it says to upgrade your account. So I've used up my two free articles in this case, and it's telling me to upgrade. Okay. They have a very effective and compelling conversion because they're selling one product. And this is something that we're seeing happen a lot now with publishers. It's really, especially as a print publisher, you have print product, you have a print digital product, you have some complexity in what you're selling, but see if you can boil down what you're actually selling to one thing. I know that sounds crazy, but it works because a confused customer, a confused visitor doesn't, buy. If I have to do math, to figure out which subscription plan I want to sign up for, you might lose me, right? Netflix, they have monthly recurring, that's it, no annual subscriptions. You go to the New York Times, you use up their free allotment, their registration that they have. You get one choice. Sometimes they serve you two choices, but they're always testing, but often you'll just get one choice. It's some promotion, it's one thing, that's it. You don't have to do any math. I don't have to make any choices. It's just this one thing. And when you actually get the free registration going, what you're doing is you're building that relationship over time. So they're seeing your product. I mean, if you were to give away 2 free articles a month, they're going to get some benefit out of that. They're going to see your content. They're going to start trusting your content, liking your content. And this is the casual visitor. And they're going to see that upgrade message over time. And if the message just has one path, in other words, just one click, like right here, subscribe now. I know what the price is, then the conversion chances go up. Okay. So the other thing too is, if you have one plan, is one registration. So you don't have to sell anything else. When the free registered subscriber is here, they're ready to buy. So just take them to the checkout page. And one of the hidden benefits of a free registration is they've already entered most of their, like their name, their email, their password, like they're all logged in, they're ready to go. It's really a credit card. If it's print, then there's an address, but it's a much simpler checkout, and you want to reduce the amount of clicks and decisions that someone has to be making in this checkout process. Okay. Oh, okay. So this is interesting too. So this is for what I described as the free registration flow, which is great. But what about for the casual visitor who comes to your website and says, boy, this looks really interesting. I wonder what subscription's like. And they click, the subscribe button in the top. So they're not a registered subscriber that has a relationship with you. They're just casual. They're coming in from Facebook or Google search. Well, build a sales page for them. So if you go to Small Boats and you click that, you'll see that they have this nice sales page. It's in 2 parts. I think this is really well done. Just copy it. Subscribe to Small Boats. Nice welcome from the editor, right? And then single pricing, super easy to understand. Here are all the benefits you get. And then they do something sneaky, if you're paying attention, is there's actually 2 choices here. It's kind of one psychological choice because it's a subscription, but do I subscribe for me or do I subscribe for someone else? Easy choice, right? And that works really well. And if you listen to Greg Wolf, he'll tell you that 20% of your paid subscriptions should be, if you have a giftable publication, should be gifts. 20% of your subscriptions should be gift subscriptions. Right, Greg? Okay. So next. Okay. Let's talk about print and digital access. So this is the New Yorker. I think this is a very fair approach. This is a good approach. It's simple. It's not confusing. if you're going to offer a print digital product and you're going to offer a digital only product, then the choice of, this is well presented, it's a choice of two. The key here is to keep your pricing the same. So you're not making people do math. So it's, hey, it's 16 weeks for 12 bucks, 16 weeks for 12 bucks. Oh, what's my decision point? My decision point is, do I want print and digital or do I want digital only? Okay, that's a pretty easy decision. Most people know what they're interested in as far as print versus digital only, and off you go. So keep it simple. I talked to a print publisher recently who was actually going to have one plan. It was an annual recurring, which I think is great. And then they're going to have an opt out of print. So one plan, one promotion, simple, clean, and then giving the user to simply check a box that says, that they don't want the print product, which might, I know you guys might go run, go screaming, running, but that's, you're dealing with people that have very clear, some people just want digital and don't want paper. And some people absolutely demand paper, just offering choices. Okay, let's see where we're at. We're at the end. Okay, so just to wrap it all up, make sure your articles are web-based. PDFs and flipbooks are great. Put them on your website, lock them down with your paywall for paid subscribers only. But all your traffic from Google and social sharing is going to land on these regular web-based mobile-friendly articles. Get a metered paywall set up so that Google can continue to rank all your articles, and all your articles can be shared in social media. Set up a free registration to capture email addresses. Give people a little extra content for registering. Make your newsletter super compelling, and you will enjoy more paid subscribers, both print and digital. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Pete.
How'd I do on time? Okay, not too bad.
Plenty of time.
You did great.
Okay, cool.
So we had one question about the time wall versus a paywall.
Yeah.
We have one person who answered. Do you want to give an opinion or your definition of the difference?
Mm-hmm. Sure. A paywall is essentially, you're saying pay for content, generally all your content. A time wall is segmenting your old content versus your fresh content. And so if it's really just one layer of complexity inside a paywall. So with Leaky Paywall, which we produce, you can set up, okay, very simple, 2 articles for free, and then you have to pay or register. And somebody joins for free or somebody pays for just, let's say, current issue content or current article content. We might set up, say, look, anything that's over 90 days old or over a year old is considered archive or premium plus content. So the time wall then restricts that and says, okay, if you want access to all our content that's 1 year or older, you pay more for that. So it's just it's really kind of a feature of a paywall is what it is. Got it.
Yeah. That was amazing. So just for me, I was blown away with what you were talking about with Modern Drummer and that scenario where, the digital price was so high.
Yeah.
I was just fascinated by that. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh boy. Yeah. We had a lot of conversation about revenue up front, and clearly their ad revenue is just their driving force, and so they wanted to make sure that their digital revenues could carry some weight, because ad revenues in digital are a fraction of, and I don't know what the exact numbers. I don't know if it's 10%. But it's a small percentage of that, and so they ran that price difference for at least 3 years, I'd say, something like that. And people paid for it. I tell the story sometimes of I subscribed to our local newspaper when I first moved into our house in New Hampshire, and then we had 2 small kids, and I had literally newspaper litter in my driveway. My wife would tell me to go clean up the 14 newspapers that were laying on the driveway, and so we switched to digital only. And And our local newspaper charges $15 a month, which is like we're in a very rural place in New Hampshire, and they're getting $15 a month, which is so. Don't be afraid to charge up for digital. I still, in today's day and age, though, we're so busy, we're so easily confused with offers. You have to figure out how to boil down your offer to ideally to one. If you have to make 2 offers, make them the same price. Don't let if you get somebody sitting and staring at a screen saying, okay, well, this one's 12 and this one's 24, or this one's 35, and maybe I should go for the annual and this and that. No, forget that. Just pick a number. I get a lot of questions about pricing. Where do you start with pricing? We do deal with a bunch of startup publishers, and what do? Well, you got to start probably at a very reasonable number, and then you can always raise your price. So that's my general philosophy on that.
Amazing. Anybody have questions they want to ask Pete? I'm still fascinated. I can go back on this for a while, but let's open it up. Come on, somebody has a question for him.
Yeah, I have one, Lisa. Can you talked about the archive, and you talked about the time wall. What are you seeing, Pete, as sort of best practices if a publisher gets all of their issues into a digital archive that they can sell, separately, I guess, that they can, is that a good idea? Should it be part of just the one thing where if they're a digital subscriber, they get the archive, or can it be a good strategy to split that you only get the current issue or the current year with your subscription, and then the 10 or 20 or 50-year archive is a different thing?
That's a really good question. I'd say as a general rule, simplicity wins. So if you're gonna sell access to a 50-year archive, then you sell absolutely annual only. Do not make it monthly. Charge up for it. It kind of depends on the audience. If you think that if the archive content truly is either a database like the Austin Monitor, or like you're a newspaper and you're tracking all the transactions in the city and all the real estate and commercial rulings, and you're giving people an access to a database, they need to pay for that. But as a generally, I'd say I would favor keeping things simple and just charging up for it as a general rule. Yeah, you can. Okay. The other thing I have to say is throw stuff against the wall. Really, it's not hard to set up. This stuff is not, at least with our system, it's not hard to set up, and you can try. You can every month you could try something new if you wanted to. Try the time wall for 6 months, or try for a year, see how it goes. But again, probably deserves a little more conversation in terms of what the content is and who the audience is.
Yeah, I think it also.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think it really helps, because we had this question at my last company where, it came down to looking at Google Analytics and looking at how people are using your website. So if people are viewing archived content, then whether you make them pay for it or whether you make them register for it is sort of immaterial. But that's what I would say is, first of all, how valuable is your current content? So in other words, can you find it other places for free? And or, if that's bringing people in, you might want to keep that. But if they really value the archive content, that's where you would insert a wall, whether it's registration or paid.
Yep. Yeah, the Google Analytics, that's a good call to absolutely look at that. Really good call. Yep. That'll guide you.
And I was just going to ask Pete also, just as a follow-up, how do you like to position, or what are you seeing with your clients for the sort of replica of the magazine itself? Where does that fit in with the print magazine and the paywalled sort of web-based content?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can show you an example. That might be the best way to do that. What I would do at like Business Journal, this is a, let me share my screen with you guys again. Can I do that?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'll share this. And all right, you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. So they're a print publisher. It's a Business Journal, Youngstown, Ohio. They have a the news flowing here, and then if you go into their archives and hang on a second, got to get rid of the Zoom menu. Hang on a second. Okay. Let's go to past issues here. So if you click into an issue, you see that there's a choice between Flipbook and the, whatever it is. So if I click on the issue, you get web-based articles, right? So I can click into an article and it loads up the web-based version, and I have a nice table of contents here, and that's all great. So the Flipbook, there's a link for a Flipbook here. And if I go back in here and I click on the Flipbook here, you attach the Flipbook to the issue and you restrict it, right? I don't know if this is a sponsored issue, or I don't know what they're doing right now, but what you can do is you basically restrict the replicas or the Flipbooks to paid subscribers only. So for those who actually want that, they have to pay for it. But you're metering the rest of the articles that are web-based. So you're offering two formats. Flipbook's good for desktop, really, is the best. Maybe an iPad, not for phones. And then you have your web-based articles for, of course, all the mobile users and people who don't want to deal with Flipbooks. And so as far as the paywall, you're metering the content here, you're locking down the replicas here. But what you can do with the nice thing, of course, about the replicas is they're fast to publish. So if I go here and I have 50 years of archives, well, I'm probably not going to be able to copy and paste all those articles into all those archives. So you can just quickly go and load up all the Flipbooks, all the replicas, restrict them. And then, for a news publisher like this, doesn't make sense to go back in time. But for an evergreen content magazine publisher, absolutely makes sense to go back in time. And, I would say once a month, you along with that Flipbook, you start adding the web-based articles that then start attracting their own search, and you can promote them as, a flash from the past, or, you get creative with your email newsletter. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. And is it something that's in, I guess I was more, that was great, but is I was also trying to get out, is it valuable to have a Flipbook, to have a replica? Is that something that fits into this, this whole model?
I think if you're coming from print and you have a loyal audience that likes, the replica format, absolutely. It's not that expensive to produce these. It's very quick to publish, doesn't cost hardly anything to actually put them up. You just want to be careful. You want to restrict them. So that's for paid subscribers only. So no Flipbooks, and let the web-based articles be your magnets for Google and social sharing. But yeah, we've had this conversation so many times where, what do we do with the Flipbook? Okay, well, keep the Flipbook. There's no need, and you can quickly populate all your back archives with the Flipbook. That's great. But restrict the Flipbook and then work on the web-based articles going forward, and maybe backwards if it's evergreen content. So one of the things that maybe I should clarify is, I mentioned this plugin that we have on the WordPress repository called Issue M. Well, it lets you assemble articles in this. What it does is it's like takes your news items, but just categorizes it in an issue, right? And which allows you to allows us to create a little table of contents for that issue, but it's all web, Google, social friendly. And then you can attach, and that drives what the actual issue is. And then you can attach a Flipbook or a PDF to that issue. This is how we actually got started. About 11 years ago, we created this product, and this is how we got started in publishing, was with this web issue product. And for print publishers, it's a nice fit because it gives you the ability to, have web-based issues, attach Flipbooks, restrict everything as you wish, to drive those paid subscriptions.
So we have some great questions in the chat. Is it okay if I read them to you, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
So Trevor has a question, and it's, do you have an estimate of how many subscriptions are typically lost to paywall jumpers, clearing their cookies, etc., with a metered / leaky paywall
Yeah.
versus a hard paywall like the Wall Street Journal?
Yes. Yes. What a great question. The answer is to, so some publishers don't mind that. It's like New York Times, you can get around the paywall. You go to incognito and you read the article. They don't care. I don't know what their philosophy is on that, but they obviously let you do it. Some publishers say, no, we don't want that. You know, we need to lock down our content, especially like financial publishers. They're really, really on us for locking down content. They want their content to show up in search. They want their content to be socially shared, but at the same time, they don't want people going incognito. So what do? We block the software blocks their IP, the incoming IP address. So we track all the IPs coming in to, and if I'm on my desktop and I switch to incognito, I still get the subscription message because the IP is being tracked. It's not the browser, it's the IP. So for publishers that really want to harden their paywall, we find that's a great way to do it. The financial publishers that we work with, they tell us that their subscriptions jumped at least 10% just by doing that. So
Got it.
that's what we hear. So hopefully that's helpful.
Rebecca, Mike, do you guys want to talk a little bit about Rebecca? Do you want to talk about your question or do you want me to read it? Here she
You
comes.
can go ahead and read it. It's pretty clear, I think. Thank you.
Okay. Rebecca says we have 3.2 million monthly unique visitors, but page views and visitors is 1.5. While we time wall most of the most 2 years of recent content, the current internal thinking is that with low views / visitor, we wouldn't be able to monetize our content older than 2 years old, which is currently open access. Thoughts? Medical journal content is what we do.
So there's 3 million visitors and 1.5 million page views? Or is it reversed?
Sorry, so 3.2 million monthly unique visitors, but then the page views is just 1.5, not 1.5 million. So a visitor would view 1.5 pages a month.
Sorry, got it. 1.5 page views, perfect. Yeah, that's pretty typical. 1 to 2 pages per visit. That's industry wide. That's a very common number. So that really, that argues for having like your free registration set at 1, like the meter set to 1 free article. And then when you go to the second article, you got to register to read that article. It sounds like the article is valuable information and somebody would be willing to register for it. And then once they're on, they're on your newsletter, now you can send more content to them. That's what I would test first. If that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, I think it's interesting from a standpoint of where do you put the registration wall? I mean, we've noticed at Reuters, our registered users are consuming approximately 50 times more content a month than a non-registered user. And that's a great thing, right? So you always have to look at, what's impacting that. So I couldn't agree with you more, Pete, about newsletters. I mean, they're just a fantastic way to remind your community that you're out there, because I think that's the biggest problem we have is grabbing attention because there's so much information out there. So sending that newsletter out and really, putting a mission statement behind each newsletter, understanding what it is you want it to accomplish is really key. So Rebecca, that's kind of why I asked the question about what your registered people are doing vis-a-vis 2-year-old or more than 2-year-old content. If they're viewing it, there might be a reason why. So dig into that and try to figure that out. And then you might be able to monetize whatever aspect you find there. But well, I mean, certainly this is, it's kind of funny. The last 2 conversations with this organization for me have been really, really apropos. One about the open rates with Apple, and then this one with paywalls or registration walls or whatever. It's something I think everybody should be doing if they're not doing it currently. Yeah.
That email list is your money in the future, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And getting that newsletter is your voice, the direct voice. Yep.
This has been a great conversation. We are approaching the 2:00 hour. Is there anybody who has a short last question? If not, we're going to wrap this up.
Oops, sorry. Joe posted one. I think it was a follow-up to the paywall jumping about that doesn't stop VPNs, does it? I don't know if that was already answered, but I just wanted to.
It actually over restricts a VPN. That's sort of a little bit of the downside. So, well, yeah, you could, if you're smart enough to come in from different IPs through a VPN, yes, you can do it. You're never going to get that person to pay. That's just the way that is. So that's a highly technical user. What I jumped to was, like, let's say you let an organization, like you're using, you're blocking IP, and then you want someone from an organization is coming into your website, and then someone different in the same organization off the same IPs coming into your website. Well, they get hard blocked because you're tracking, you know, the whole organization's getting blocked. So there's a little bit of the other side of the sword on tracking IP addresses, if that makes sense.
Great.
Yep.
So I want to thank you, Pete. It was an amazing presentation. We've learned a ton. I personally am thrilled. Thank you. Took great notes. I want to thank all of you for being here today. And there's so much coming up. We have an audience data strategies event in March. We have some amazing content that'll be announced soon for April. It's a special panel that'll come out. And I'm going to ask you all to save the date for May 12th, when we are going to go live in person in North Jersey, probably the Newark area. So please keep your eye out for the emails. We're looking forward to seeing you all then. I want to thank our sponsors again for today and all of our members. Guys, please, when you see the membership notes and emails, you can renew. If you're not in the East Coast and it's not feasible, the digital memberships are $45. We encourage you to please join. This is the kind of content we continue to put out. The rest of the year looks amazing. Barb Falk and the programming committee are doing a great job. I want to thank Greg Wolf for introducing us to Pete, and everybody else. Thank you so much. Have a great, great weekend. Jess, did I forget anything?
I think you got it all covered. I don't even need to be here.
Guys, thank you again so much. And please email any of us, LinkedIn page, the True Company Media Audience and Content Marketing Company LinkedIn page. Please join us, follow us so you can see what's going on. Okay.